Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bougie Best Friend Podcast. I'm your host, KOKO, Cornelia Slunsky, and today we have a social media conversation. Oh, my hair is not hairing today. For those of you who are watching me on video, I don't know what's going on. But I have Alyssa on the podcast today, and we connected, as you may assume, on social media. I love her content, and as you're going to hear in the episode, I don't follow a lot of social media experts because a lot of them are just like full of shit, and not to like be rude, but a lot of them are just either stealing from each other or they're just coming up with things that are not like gonna move the needle for you. Something I love about Alyssa is she's talking about you-coded content. It's like content that actually, I'm not even going to tell you. She's going to tell you in the episode. We talked about building a brand on social, how to stand out on social. We just covered social media in general. So this is for my girlies and guylies who want to be in the social media space, whether you have a business and you need to promote it on social or you want to become a content creator. Great episode to tune into. Also, if you love the show, please leave a 5-star rating and a review because it means the world. You can also watch video episodes on YouTube, also on Spotify. But yeah, that's all. It's kind of crazy that it is already middle of September, end of September, pretty much. And I think this year was a really good one. I have no idea what's going on with me. I'm really feeling the fall vibes. I'm very happy it's a bit cooler out there. I mean, living in Miami, it's always hot and humid, but I like the fall vibes. Like I like the colors, I like the clothing. I just like fall vibes and that's it. So happy fall. If you are, falling for fall. I will stop talking right now and I'm just going to dive into the conversation. Alyssa, welcome to Bougie Best Friend.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Okay, I've been following you for a very long time, and I don't follow a lot of social media experts because I feel like a lot of them are just, just repeating the same things that don't have any tangible advice. So, huge fan. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with the world and for coming on the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That means so much coming from you because I mean, we already talk in the DMs. We're like, yes. You get it. Like you get it, and we're like joking, together in the DM. So it's nice to like actually chat face to face.
Okay, let's start with your social media journey. How did you become a brand builder, strategist, and all that? Because I saw there was a post of yours. I think it's pinned on your TikTok that you were not doing this before.
No, I wasn't. So in the middle of the pandemic, I was in university. I was studying to have my BA in PR and theater. So the big dream was to be an actress, to be the new Brenda Song, to, act and do that. And I was actually in a show in university. I was in West Side Story and the pandemic hit. Show got canceled halfway through, industry shut down, and there was no castings. There was nothing. And I was like, oh, that's fine. I never actually wanted to be an actress ever. It's such a crazy thought. And I finished, university online. Everything was online. I had like a retail job at the time and tutoring, but with COVID, everything shut down. And I discovered the virtual assistant space and people that make money online. So I was like, well, what do I have to lose? I have all this time on my hands. I'm not going to be an actress anymore, I guess. So I started my account. I knew how to use social media just as someone that was like raised with social media, but I didn't have any professional experience. So I really just consumed all the content that I could. I took every digital course, every free, because I was a college student, everything for free, every YouTube video, podcast, article. I just read it all, and then I started experimenting on the Inspired Media page and also on my personal page. I also had a social media internship at that time, or a little bit before, but the internship was kind of interesting because they didn't necessarily like teach me how to use social media, but they just basically gave me the company social media and was like, hey, you can just like play around on here.
So you were testing.
And I was like,
yeah, I love that.
Exactly. And they just kind of gave me like the freedom to just play and also like teach them what I was learning. So it was all doing. I think that was like the biggest thing in building this business and building these skills. It was all about doing. And then, my portfolio, even though I didn't have clients for like the first month, was my own page and my personal page. And even through my personal page, I was pitching myself to small Etsy shops and saying like, "Hey, I'll be a content creator for you." Or even at the time, like I wasn't acting, but I was like, "Okay, if I can't act, what's the next step?" And I was also trying to model at the time too. So again, I just had so much time on my hands, and I was just like, "Why not just do everything I can?" And then out of that came the inspired media posts. 2 months into my business, I landed my first client off of a Facebook group, and then I never stopped.
Okay, so many questions here. So you finished school. Okay, for context, how old are you?
I'm 24.
And that when I heard that first time that you told me, like just on your podcast, I was like, wow, you are so mature and you're such a business minded person. And I just love that. I mean,
Oh.
I love when I see people that are just like, okay, this is not working out. Theater didn't work out. And you're like, let me see what else I can do. And you kind of just like learn that entire knowledge and during. Also, I just realized because you are such a good actress, that's why you can show up on social media. Is that kind of
Oh, that's a huge part of my story. Yes. So, and I'm sure you know this too of like the ick of like being on
yeah.
camera. Oh my gosh. I mean, we did that for a class. Like imagine you filming a TikTok, but instead of you just like posting it, you submit it to your professor and then they project it on the projector
Oh
and
my,
all your peers take notes.
wait, that's what they
And the
do?
notes are like, yeah, uh-huh. All the notes are like, you blinked too much. Why did you look to the left? That didn't feel like a part of the character
No way.
or stuff like that. So the embarrassment, I mean, even being a theater kid is like embarrassing in and of itself. But I got to get over that pretty quickly because I was like, oh, great. Like now no one's gonna take notes. Perfect. Like way easier.
That's such a great tip. I mean, I don't know if I would just how can people implement this in real life? Maybe like send their video to their friends who can be brutally honest, but maybe not too brutally honest.
No, yes, yes, yes. So they can definitely, there's so much of like acting techniques that I've actually used not only for myself, but working with my clients. So one of the things that you do in your acting classes when you're reading off a script is you always want to have, or even just anything, you always want to have a moment before. So it's basically like when we are watching the scene, you don't want it to look like we just hit record. Same thing with the video. You don't want to like warm up in the beginning of your video. That's why sometimes people's hooks are like, "Hi guys, like thank you so much. Fix the hair,
Yeah.
fix the thing." You kind of want the video needs to be in the middle of the conversation, and acting is a very similar way. So sometimes actors when they're doing a read, they'll have either a person behind the camera or they'll either glue eyes on their wall just so that they can speak to somebody's eyes, or even like they'll say a few lines in their head and then speak out, or like say the person's name and then speak out. So that's what similar advice I would give to a content creator is like, okay, if the pretending like you're on FaceTime with a bestie just like isn't working, say that person's name, say your best friend's name, or say one sentence and then look at the camera and go into it so that it doesn't feel like, oh, the camera's turned on, now I'm on. You should already be on before the camera.
I will do this next time I'm recording.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, just like say
Mm-hmm.
somebody's name because I see myself when I'm responding. So on TikTok, I respond to a lot of comments and it's almost easier with a video and it's almost easier for me to respond to that comment because it is like I'm talking to that person, even though it is for the whole world. So
Yes.
you basically
Yes.
self-educated yourself on social media and all that. You talk about something that I love, and that is that successful creators move differently. When I saw
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm like, bang, we need to dive deep. What do you mean by that successful creators move differently?
So many different little things. It's little either like action steps that they take or even just the way that they think. It's different, but it's not unattainable. And I think that's what a lot of people forget is like they'll look at someone and they'll be like, "Oh, they're just better. Or they're just, they're richer or they are this that and the other thing." And it's just like the small things that they do. If I work with a beginner creator and I work with a seasoned creator and we're working through a content idea together, they're gonna go out the next day, if not right after the call, and do it. Whereas when you're kind of in those beginning stages, you're sitting on it, you're piecing everything together, you're writing it out, and then you're writing it out again, and you're like overthinking it, and it's like all that time you could have spent just like doing it. So some of my creators, even just in an intensive or a VIP week where it's just a call, like we'll map out an idea together and they will get the results, but they wouldn't get the results if they didn't actually film it. And when I say action, yes, it can just be like recording in your room and doing that, but these people are going out. Like I had someone go out to a store and film her video in a store. It was like a new video format that we didn't do before. Someone else, she went to an amusement park. Another person, she went out and like actually did the thing as opposed to like wasting energy on thinking about it. This is a creative space. We cannot think, we can't, you can't think up a really good piece of content. You have to actually create it.
Oh, I love that. And I see myself constantly in this overthinking stage. And it's like, you're thinking about the hook, you're thinking about the first second, you're thinking about, but at the end of the day, it's like if your content is not valuable, it just doesn't make sense. So if somebody is a starting content, somebody's in the beginning of their content creator journey, or they're just like comparing themselves, what kind of advice do you give to your starter creators?
One thing is you limit your scrolling time, and you're really disciplined about it. And before you even get the itch to scroll like, oh, what's this person doing? No, absolutely not. You will scroll your own feed. If that's not working, scroll your own camera roll, and that's going to eat up a lot of time. And that's usually just the thing that people are doing, is they're just trying to just avoid the thing by procrastinating, and they're putting all these like other tasks like, oh, if I do this, this is research, and we're like, no, it's not, you're procrastinating. So okay, fine, if you're going to do that, I'm going to put another action immediately to stop you. And usually when you start just looking at yourself and looking at the other things, then you start critiquing yourself, which is actually constructive. You start looking at, ooh, no, I love this. I look really good here. What am I doing? Or, oh, I was really funny here. What am I doing? Then you're actually doing something constructive. So that's like one of the biggest tips I say, because it's an immediate action item, and everybody knows that itch of like, I don't know what to do. Grab my phone, scroll, scroll, scroll. Okay, fine, scroll, but like we're not scrolling the feed. We're scrolling either our own feeds or the camera roll.
I also started going on Pinterest instead of scrolling, because it almost like inspires me and gives me motivation to do something else instead of constantly consuming other people's lives. And I see myself lying to myself like, oh, this is research. Well, let me just see what she is posting, what trending sounds, but it's just like me not doing the work.
Which is everyone falls into that. Even me, like I totally have fallen into that too. And of course, there's some spaces where it's like, okay, I'm actually using this strategically. Like maybe it is like, I don't know, you're prepping for a photo shoot. Pinterest would make sense. You're using your creator insights tool. Okay, that makes sense. But you also have to like have that self-awareness, like we talked about, have that self-awareness and know, okay, am I doing this intentionally, or am I trying to find comfort or a quick answer?
When I was starting with my social media, I've been on socials for a very long time. But when I was starting to post this type of content, like giving advice and maybe some lifestyle and whatever, everybody was saying that you need to niche down. You have to stick with one thing, and that's all you need to do. And that's why I feel like I was quote unquote stuck in the dating content for a very long time. But I love that you're talking about us being like a little onion. So if you can get into that, and like, how do you actually know what you should be posting about, because we have so many things that are interesting to us. So give us a little spiel on the onion strategy.
Yes. So obviously, yes, we know the niche down message, and not that there's anything wrong with niching down, but what I will say, and what I like to say instead, is niche down within yourself. Because the reason why somebody is going to not only follow you, but come back, but type in your name if they don't see you on their feed anymore, is not what you're saying, but who you are and how you say it and how you make them feel. So the concept of niching down within yourself is focusing more on not the topics that you're talking about, but how you're talking about them. Because if someone can get hooked on to your vibe and how you do something, then it doesn't really matter what you're talking about, because they'll be like, oh, well, she always has this type of an energy, whether it is talking about social media or talking about her siblings or talking about X, Y, and Z. Now, there's totally room for structure. So even for myself, like everybody knows, I'm a social media strategist, I'm a content creator, but it's the way in which I say things and deliver those things, that's the thing that truly makes me stand out. So for other content creators, you can have your set content pillars and topics that you want to talk about. It doesn't just have to be one. It can totally be, 4 or 5 if you want to branch out into topics. But the common denominator, the common through line in all of your content is your personal brand, how you make people feel, how you show up. And that's what I mean by niching down within yourself. And when people talk about content and feeling overwhelmed and not knowing what to post, it's usually because they go into, I don't know what to post. But if you start out with, why am I posting and who am I? Then all this other stuff kind of just comes out very organically.
No, I love that. And I love that you're talking about that you coded strategy because as you were
Mm-hmm,
saying,
mm-hmm.
I go to somebody's page because of them specifically, not even the way they produce content or maybe their angles. Like it's not even that. It's about how they make me feel and the way they deliver the message. So how can we show up as ourselves more on social?
Yes. So one, like what I said, stop over consuming other people's content. And then an exercise I really like to do to help you create this you coded strategy. So I actually have a framework. It's called the standout method. And it does hone in on the how and the why. But to really kind of see, okay, how are people seeing me? Ask your friends, like, describe me in 3 words. If you were to describe me in 3 words, what would that be? Ask them to describe you in TV show characters or musical characters or other characters, because that's those words are usually like the first thing that someone that doesn't know you, those are the first things that they're going to notice about you. Yes, of course, like we want to be authentic, but and you want to be you, but sometimes you being you and what other people see, there's like a disconnect there. So someone can think like, oh, like I was really excited about this piece of content, but then I watch the piece of content and I'm like, well, you look bored and you look tired, or you're like you're umming and ahhing. So I don't really know, I don't really know what's going on. So ask. It's really important, especially in marketing, understanding who you are and understanding how people perceive you, and then trying to find, okay, well, what parts of these do I actually want for my brand? Because if someone just sees your piece of content and they don't know your name, they don't know your handle, they're just going to describe you in words. So the idea of niching down within yourself and creating a you coded strategy is understanding that that's going to happen, being okay with like they're not going to know your name first off the bat, right? We're not going to go like narcissist mode here, but the words that they use to describe you to someone else, you can control those words with your organic content.
I
Does
love it.
that,
No, yeah, this is brilliant.
yeah?
I'm just
Okay.
mentally writing it all down. And that's true. Sometimes like the way we think that we show up on social is not the way we actually showed up because it's very hard to be critical of your own content. If
Hmm.
I see with myself when I create my content, I edit my content. It's just I'm just so overwhelmed with myself that sometimes I don't even know if this is like a good piece of content or like what to do. But
Yes.
something I love
Yes.
about your socials is that your page, your Instagram, is so aesthetic. How did you like how okay, before in the beginning days of Instagram, everybody was doing this like super aesthetic feed and just like picture perfect everything. Then there was a time when it was like, okay, this doesn't really matter. You can post whatever you want. Your Instagram can look whatever. But I feel like now there's like a balance. You can still be relatable, but are you trying to be a little bit more elevated? Are you trying to approach that like not approach, but are you trying to be in that like luxury vibe? And that's
Hmm.
exactly what I
Hmm.
see from your page. So let's talk a bit about branding yourself as a personal brand and how to it's very difficult to do it. Sometimes it can look a bit too fake, like too perfect, but
Hmm.
that's not what you're trying to say.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And you can even, if you've never seen my feed before, rip it apart, judge it. But I think the things that people see is like, yes, it's aesthetic, it's neutrals, right? It's a vibe, but it's not super perfect. One, because I'm not going to waste my time doing the super perfect feed. Two, it's more of a vibe when it's not. Like, let's be honest, casually curated is just more of a vibe. And I also think when you do the exercise I just talked about and you really hone in on like the words that you want to be known for, the words that you want your brand to be known for, your aesthetics should just emulate those words. It's not separated out. It's not like this is exclusive to that. It all works together. So for me, obviously, yes, like I'm a neutral girly, and yes, I do want to be elevated and I do want to be luxury, but that doesn't mean that I'm never like fun or it's like super polished and perfect. And you'll see that, you'll obviously see that in my content. And it all just comes back to that core that you make of those brand words and having your visuals emulate that. And then especially on Instagram, like you can change your cover photo.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. We don't have to freak out about it. It's fine. My biggest hack, if you will, not that I ever taught, oh my gosh, I never say that word. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Cut that out. I'm just kidding. But my biggest tip for like having an aesthetic feed is like just have a color palette and post within that color palette. It doesn't have to be the exact hex code or like the exact like this square to this square. Just be like, okay, if I'm a neutral girly, like right, like For example, before it was very like cool tone because that's like the vibe that I wanted. In that season of my life, I was naturally just wearing cooler tones. I was getting into like grays and taupes, and I was like, okay, slay. Like, I want this, so this is what my feet's gonna look like. That's how I planned my photo shoot. It's springtime now. Now I'm not gonna be wearing multiple colors. Okay, no, we don't do that. But it's going to be creamy. It's going to be a little bit more feminine. It's going to be a little bit more playful and fun. So I had like lace stockings and the tones were a little bit neutral and warm. So it just really emulated like my life and what I'm actually wearing. And it just came out of there authentically.
If somebody's planning a photo shoot, maybe they're a new brand founder and they need like that, you need that brand founder photo shoot. Do you have any tips?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I could go on and on.
You know
and on.
whose
It's my favorite thing to do.
whose brand photos, founder photos I love is that Refi founder.
Yes.
Whenever I
yes,
go on
she does a good
Pinterest
job.
and I like search something about like branding or whatever, she's the first one.
Yeah, she does a really, really good job. For me, one, I go into like, what's the season? I go back to those words, but if there's any like additional words that I want. So example, spring, I wanted it to be more feminine. I wanted it to be a little bit more playful. I wanted creamy was like a big word that like just kept jumping out at me. And then when you're planning your photo shoot, don't type in like brand photo shoot on Pinterest. Like my Pinterest board is like some of that, but it's like fashion shoots. It's also just like random furniture, home decor. It's really more about, again, like, I know I'm going to say this like forever, but like it's more about the vibe of the photos because if you keep taking like these brand photos as your inspo, you're just going to turn into that. And it's just going to look, it's going to give like LinkedIn,
Like copycat,
robot.
maybe a little bit.
Yeah. So you want to find things that are outside of like, especially for a business, because business pages it can look very like blazer, trousers. But if you have little if you
Blazers
have little like
everywhere.
elements, exactly. If you have little elements, even if you are wearing like a blazer and trousers, like is there a certain color or is there, I don't know, is the edit a little bit different or you have a little accessory or you have something in your hair or something like that that just makes you more you. You can also, something I talk about on my page a lot, is a lifestyle pillar. So in your lifestyle pillar, it's 3 to 5 elements of you. I didn't do this on my last one, but on my 2 other ones, boba was like in my photo shoot and it was like a cute thing. It was like everyone does coffee. I'm going to do boba and it's going to be so cute and it's just a little sprinkle of me. So
Let's
also
give some
thinking about, like,
context
those
about
things.
boba for those who don't know what we're talking about. Okay, I'll give them the context. Alyssa posted this video about things that she likes specifically. And you mentioned this boba tea once. And that's like, it's just like engraved in it's like a memory stamp. So you put something that was something that you really love, you added in your actual photo shoot. Can you give us a few more examples of what can people do? Okay, if they don't want to do coffee, they don't want to do like a matcha, what can they add that's like a sprinkle of their personality?
Yeah, it could be a routine of yours. It can be like your morning routine. So something I used to do a lot. I still do this a little bit, but I'm a little bit injured right now. But I love going to the gym and I love lifting heavy. Like I think I am a professional weightlifter in my heart, and I love to destroy the gym bros. So yeah, if it was like a gym pick, like sure, yeah, like cute outfit, but it was more about like time to destroy the gym bros because I am stronger than them. Even if they're stronger than me, I'm stronger than them. It is what it
definitely
is. I don't know what
stronger.
to tell you. Exactly. So stuff like that, you have to get really specific. So that term I said before, niche down within yourself, that comes into the little stuff too, because it's not enough to be like, oh, I like coffee. Okay, everyone likes coffee. How do you take your coffee? Are you gonna fight me about it? Are you drinking whole milk now and not oat milk?
Oh, that's a
and it's like
huge
funny.
conversation right now in socials.
Yeah.
That's so
Exactly.
funny.
And it's funny. Other things like your favorite food or a little quirk, a little thing that you have. Actually, one thing that I learned about myself is I have crispy R's. So then I just kept embracing the fact that I have crispy R's. So it really can be the mundane, it can be the little things. The power in it though, as far as like getting people to remember you for it, is you have to sprinkle that in your content pretty consistently. So if like I'm going to go to the gym, every single time I go to the gym, there has to be something related to like the gym bros
Yeah,
or
ripping
like
them.
yeah, exactly, putting them in their place, whatever. It has to be consistent, just like an inside joke that you tell to a friend.
Yeah, I think that a lot of humans, we don't recognize that these little small things about us is what makes us unique. And we almost think like, oh, that's so weird. So I am obviously an immigrant, and I used to be so hard on myself if I would mess up grammar or if I would like pronounce something
Mm,
incorrectly. I was editing content so much so you can't see that I like made a mistake. But then I'm like,
wow.
this is who I am. Like, I'm not from
Yeah.
America. This is not my first language. So I don't need to try to become like them, because then I'm just gonna blend in and like be like everybody
Hmm.
else. But yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
people don't even recognize that those little cute things, it's what makes them
Yes.
stand out.
And I love your accent
Yeah.
too. I have like the mine is like obnoxious. It's like California Southern. It's like Valley Girl, like boring. But to your point too, like if someone corrects you about it, I mean, hey, thanks for the engagement.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Thank you.
They do that sometimes. I'm like, how many languages do you speak? Let's talk more
Right.
about brand building. I feel like as a content creator, influencer is almost easier to find yourself on socials versus brands, because brands sometimes don't know how to. I'm just thinking about a lot of brands on TikTok. There's some brands
Mm,
who almost have like a mascot and then they do everything with the mascot. Then another brand is showing like behind the scenes of the brand. Like there's in so many different ways you can go, but you can't just talk about the product itself. Like you have to
right.
create some kind of vibe. So what would you say if you're starting off with a brand and you're trying to build their social media presence? How do you even go about this?
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a good question. And it's hard for business owners to do this because for forever business owners kind of just sat on the top and they would just run some ads and they would be good. And now they have to be content creators and learn how to be their own influencers. So what I'll say is overall, your social media should sell the brand over selling the product because through selling the brand, you will sell the product. Just like what an influencer does. You're bought into the influencer's life and their brand, you're more likely to buy the product that they want. So that would be the first thing is thinking about the lifestyle and the feelings that this product or service will provide and pushing that more in your content over like hey buy this product. So if I was going to work with a new fitness brand and we're talking about the gym, a new fitness brand, I wouldn't just go like buy these leggings. Like
Hmm.
yes there's some room for that, but like why? What is the lifestyle that I'm gonna have? Is it gonna be that it's gonna be super easy? Am I gonna look hot, sexy at the gym? So I'm gonna be like way more motivated to do that. It's selling the lifestyle after the product over selling the features of the product. Like it's made of this and it does this. It's like, yes, that's important, but overall in your content strategy, that's not what people are looking at first. You have to understand the space that you're entering into. The space that you're entering into is not people looking at like the little individual things to scan it and buy it. They're looking for entertainment. They're looking for that comfort. They're looking for they're watching influencers. So you kind of have to follow suit with your content to be like, okay, if I'm not going to start with the product, what is it that they're looking for? It's the lifestyle that this product is going to offer them.
I see that even with brands when I'm working with a brand and I'm creating a campaign about their product, and if they're pushing me to be very technical and like talk about all the ingredients and all about the way it
Mm-hmm.
was made and this and that, and sure I can say all of that, but I know even as a consumer I don't care about every single thing about this, about all the ingredients that's in there. Sure, after, if you're
Mm-hmm.
deciding to buy it, then you're gonna read through it and understand it. But the first feeling is this like emotional connection and like you want to be a part of that lifestyle. So if somebody
Mm-hmm.
is still a bit confused of like maybe they have a great product, but they don't know how to like they don't know what they want to do, how do they show up on social media? If you can give us a few examples of brands that you think are doing a good job.
Yes.
I know that was
Okay,
two
one of my
questions, but
favorite. No, no. It's. I think I'm gonna answer both of them with this one. One of my favorite brands on TikTok, or two, I think Set Active does a really good job because they're selling more of like their corporate lifestyle, their team. Actually, Set Active is really interesting because they completely separate their Instagram and TikTok. Now they have the budget and the resources to do that, but if you look at their TikTok, and if we're thinking about social media, Instagram and TikTok in a double bubble, their overlap is super small, like just a few promo stuff. But their TikTok content is all about, and they hired a creator, and I think they're going to rehire a different creator, but they hired a creator to take over their account and make silly, relatable pieces of content about their corporate culture. Because when people go on TikTok, what are they looking at? People complaining about their corporate jobs, how hard, working is, how unfair things are. Oh, my manager was terrible, blah, blah, blah. So now they're adding into the conversation that people are already having, but doing it in a way where it's like, but that's not us. We're not the enemy. And you want to be a part of like our team. So it's not about the clothes anymore. So I think they use TikTok for that discoverability, for that like instant visibility. I don't think they're looking too much for conversions. You go on their Instagram, completely different content. You don't see that creator's face on their content. It's all UGC influencers. They're now selling the lifestyle. So if their TikTok is more relatability forward, their Instagram is more aspiration forward. It is the hot girlies playing pickleball on the beach with the cute fit. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. I want that. She looks so good. She's getting her steps in. She looks great. She's glistening in the sun. Like, why would I not want that? And how is she doing that? Oh, it's that active. Right. So they're selling the lifestyle. And I'm sure, well, I can infer that their conversion rate is probably better on Instagram than on TikTok as far as sales go. But TikTok plays a huge role in just getting that instant visibility. And that's probably why they separated it out so much like that. They're a pretty big brand, so they have the resources to do that. But again, it was never about pushing the product. They're pushing some sort of a lifestyle on Instagram and TikTok that people want to be a part of first, because when you get someone to buy into you and your brand, it doesn't matter the product that you're pushing. Kardashians are amazing at this. Love them or hate them,
Love 'em.
people are so incredibly bought into their lifestyle. It doesn't matter what they're selling. We want our hands on it, or at least it's intriguing. Like, so you like this? I'm very interested in it. Another brand, and I think this brand is going to be studied in university campuses, and it is Strawberry Milk Mob. She does a fantastic job with her marketing.
Okay, I've been seeing that all over. I didn't do a deep dive, so I will.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I got a video for you already, so you can stalk that.
I was like, I'm sure you do. I will definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, send me a link. I'll check it out right away.
No,
Love it.
I will. And she does an amazing job because one, she's not only, I think, I don't know what her like conversions and what her numbers are. She's one of the influencers where she can post anything and I will watch it. She's sitting on the pool, she's talking about what she's doing that day, and I'm interested. She just has the personality for it. But on TikTok, her Strawberry Milk Mob page is all about her. It's all about the sisters that she also owns the business with, and then a little bit about like her boyfriend. So it's really more about her life, and it's barely about the product. Sometimes it is, but it barely is. She really takes up like the influencer role. But you look at their Instagram and it's all promo, pictures of the bikinis, bikini. We don't even really see her TikToks reposted. So I think they're kind of following that same strategy of like, okay, TikTok is really where I can get that visibility. She has a closer community on TikTok, which a lot of people usually have a closer community on Instagram. She really hones in on the community aspect of TikTok as well, but it's converting all over on Instagram. Now, there are some, because I see on her comments, like people will ask her about her products, but like her Instagram is literally there to sell. That is the purpose of her content on there. Here's the product, here's how good it looks, here's how hot these girls are. The website is literally right there where you can opt in. So those are two really extreme examples. So for someone listening that's just starting out and maybe they don't have the capacity to do that, I would pull out like the things about them that are like, ooh, okay, she does this really well. She really focuses on community there. Both of them are not like professional at all, which is like why it works so much. Pull out kind of the things they're doing and then make them your own.
So you use this term double bubble, which I also learned from you. I love
Yes.
your terms. It's like so easy to remember. So from my understanding, double bubble is when you are one person on Instagram, presenting like one kind of persona on Instagram, and you're presenting another kind of, not really different person, but it's like different types of content. So like TikTok is really organic, kind of relatable, and then Instagram is structured. Do you recommend that for content creators, for brands in general?
So the double bubble, this is basically what I learned in like elementary or like middle school or something. It's just a Venn diagram to compare and contrast two things. So in this double bubble, we're comparing and contrasting Instagram versus TikTok. So the way that I see it is that you'll have your foundational social media strategy that ties to your brand, and then your Instagram and TikTok kind of sit on top of that foundation, where it's just being delivered in a different way. So you have something that's very catered towards TikTok, you have something that's very catered towards Instagram, but I would say most influencers and most brand owners aren't going to have a double bubble with like the littlest overlap. I'm sure it's going to look something where it's overlapping a lot because we have to be realistic in that not everyone is going to be able to post 5 times a week unique content on TikTok and 5 times a week unique content on Instagram. So what I'll say is if you have five, if you have an idea, you have 5 different content ideas. Maybe we have 3 that are original pieces of content that we're cross posting per platform. And then we have those extra 2 that are like catered towards TikTok. So maybe that's a TikTok stitch or a more candid TikTok video. And then for Instagram, it's aesthetic B-roll and like some text overlay or your carousel posts. Of course, like you have to really test this out and see what works for the other, but it's not about having new ideas per platform. It's about delivering them so that they match the culture of different platforms.
Love that.
Did I answer your
Yeah,
question?
definitely. I
Okay.
a few things here. When I was starting with my TikTok, when I just started posting about like dating and whatever, I was repurposing everything on Instagram, and it was always doing extremely well. So I just continued doing that on. So I don't even remember my exact numbers, but like I had some kind of followers on Instagram. I had more on TikTok when I started growing, and then when I started repurposing that TikTok content onto Instagram, my Instagram started growing as well. Because, and I find that interesting that a lot of these big TikTokers, they don't really have an Instagram presence. I mean, some huge ones, of course, they do, but like some of them, like they have 500,000. You go to their Instagram, like they don't post anything at all. Like, why do you think people do that?
Yeah, I think when TikTok came into the picture, it was so easy and the algorithm, if you want to say, like was easier to please, if you will. Not that I really pay attention to like anything about the algorithm, but let's just say this audience. If we're going to think about audience, less people on TikTok, it was easier to go viral, it was easier to be known. So then it created this like environment and honestly like habit, like, oh, this is way easier. It feels more comfortable. So then people would then dedicate all their time and energy into TikTok and forget about Instagram. And I think I really think it's more of like a habit thing. And like, oh, I saw a ton of results on TikTok. So why would I be pouring it into a platform that doesn't give me anything? I will say though, after working with a lot of seasoned creators, so hundreds of thousands to even the 1 million mark, they will literally come to me and be like, okay, I ignored Instagram, mistake. I need to go back. And we're like, okay, great. And they'll be surprised too. I do a lot of cross posting as well because that's just what I have capacity for.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I want creators to think about is like, oh, how many times should I post? What does the algorithm want? We don't know what the algorithm wants. What do you have capacity for? That's the first question. And then we can go from there. And I don't have capacity to be posting unique content per platform. But just like what you saw, it's not like something tanks super crazy on TikTok versus Instagram. My audience is actually, they overlap a lot, which makes things, a lot easier for me. But when it comes to, like posting per platform, yes, you have to experiment. Yes, you have to see like what works for you. But a lot of people are actually focusing and honing in more on Instagram. One, I think for the monetization opportunities, you can make a lot of money on Instagram. You can make more money just because there's more features. So for Instagram, there's Instagram videos, there's Instagram reels, there's carousels, there's stories. There's so much room for monetization there. And also the follower count on Instagram is heavier on TikTok because when you follow someone on Instagram, you're choosing to consume their content every single time you open their page. On TikTok, you can follow someone and not see them again.
That's so true. I find it so interesting when people unfollow me on TikTok. I'm like, you don't even see my content probably. Like I rarely unfollow. Like the other day I went through my following. I'm like, oh, I don't remember seeing these people ever again after I clicked follow, which is so interesting.
Yep.
Want to talk about something when you post content, not you, but like when people post content and they maybe start blowing up over this one video that was kind of like an accident. Sometimes what I think it happens is like, let's say you blew up because of this coffee. Actually, let me use a different example because I did blow up because of a coffee video. So let's say that I blow up over a cooking hack or like a cooking technique that I posted once. And then you have this huge follower jump because people like this video blew up, it went viral, everybody wants to follow you. And then that was like one video that you're never going to post again. It's almost like you have to post content that you are going to post constantly, because if I follow you for this cooking video and I never see a cooking video on your page ever again, I'm kind of confused. I would love for you to speak more on that when it comes to like posting intentional content and content that you
Yeah.
stand behind, actually?
Yes, yes. No, that's a really good question. And it's happened so many times, especially there's some videos that I watch and it's like if like a crazy Karen. Oh,
I love those. Yo,
my
I
content
love
goes to that.
those
Love
too.
those.
Forgot to mention
And
that.
then
Yeah.
they don't finish the story and I'm like,
Hate that. Yeah,
okay,
hate
well I'm
that.
not following. Then I'm like, where's part two?
Yeah.
Why didn't you so it happens all the time. And again, like I'm sure that person just posted that just because they thought it was funny and they wanted to expose this person. So when I talk about creating content with intention, it is choosing those topics, not that you can never change them, but like it's not going to take you 2 hours to figure out the topics that you like. So pick the topics that you like and don't feel constrained with having content pillars. I think that's another thing too that people kind of get like mixed up about is like they're not constraining you. If you really want to be a creative will always have some sort of boundaries. Like even one of the most freest art forms is improv. They still need like where are you, what are you doing, how are you feeling, there's still boundaries there and it's within those boundaries that you can really go deeper and not wider and like really create. So have those set topics and create within those set topics, test that out, and then if you don't like it then you can pivot. But I think the big mistake that people make is that they just like, oh, what's going to go viral, like what's going to do this, what's going to do that, and then it happens and it's never what they expect it to be. It's like, oh, but then, like, what about and then they get their feelings hurt
Yeah.
because then they do the fashion content that they really wanted to do in the first place, and then no one wants to watch it, and then they get even more sad and like, oh well, like nobody liked it, and like everybody just wants to watch this funny video
Yeah.
of me, I don't know, like crying about my, a cockroach on my toilet or like, something stupid like that, and it's like, yeah, no, that will happen. So that's why you do want to be intentional, and it's not hard. It's not like oh, this is like the hardest thing you're ever going to do. You're going to make a video and you're going to post it.
Yeah.
That's it.
People,
You
I
know?
mean, I overthink so much, but I'm sure, I mean,
Me
and I've
too.
been in the game for so long. Okay, actually, how do you come up with your content ideas? Because you provide a lot of value. Do you get inspiration from your audience, from your clients? I mean, I'm sure it's both, but how do you come up
Yeah.
with your content?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. My clients and questions that I get, but I do have my like set content pillars and I theme every single content pillar. So it's not just like social media strategy. Those are too broad. You want to niche down within yourself. So what's the specific way that I talk about social media strategy? You coded content, personal brand focused, humanized content. That's my thing. Whenever you're going to see me talk about something, I'm not going to give you an algorithm hack. Most people don't even know anything about the algorithm, or we're just watching Adam Asseri's content and then we're just going to tell you what he said, even though you could just listen to what he said. Like, that's the way in which I do it. So, getting really specific with those topics and niching down within yourself, and then really having that lane and having freedom in that lane. Again, it's not about, oh no, I can only talk about this, so I'm so restricted. It's like, ooh, now I can go deeper and not wider. So, not only can I talk about lifestyle pillar, which is like a service level thing, I can now talk about you coded content. And then I can talk about niching down within yourself and the specific ways in which you do that. And then I can break down other influencers that do that. And then I can use the other influencers to prove my point. So I'm getting deeper, 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 deeper. And my audience is now getting deeper with me. And then if I see an influx of like newer followers, which I have recently, and when I say that, not that I have a ton of followers, but it's like there's some people that just like aren't engaging anymore, and there's some people that are new to my page. So then I'll regroup. I'll go, okay, well, what content did I do when I had a lot of like beginner followers? Okay, I'll go back. Lifestyle pillar, and you can see this on my page. I'm posting about the lifestyle pillar again. I literally post about the lifestyle pillar probably like 2 to 3 times a year, and I'll go through like a big heavy lifestyle pillar stage because new people will find me, and that's like the easiest kind of way that they can get to know how I view content in that way. And then obviously I have products that match. And then my clients, oh my gosh, my clients inspire me so much. A lot of my clients too are older than me and they're more seasoned than I am in their creator space or in their entrepreneur journey. So I am so inspired by them. I'm so inspired by the way that they take my guidance and make it their own and do it in a different way that I didn't even think of. And then I'll literally like a lot of my content. Actually, they make my job easy because they'll go viral or they'll have a video with like amazing engagement, and I'm like, perfect. I don't have to even think of the idea. This is the idea because they do so well.
Love that. Let's talk about some actually specific ways of recording content and editing content. What do you usually suggest? Like, do you record on TikTok, Instagram, or your camera?
Yeah, I do both camera and TikTok. I actually tragically lost all my editing features on TikTok. So I can't edit on
How?
TikTok. Yeah, I don't know. I opened up my app one day and it's literally like the 2020 version where it's
No
like
way.
it's just one long video. Even if you cut it, I can't splice it. I can't do anything. I don't know what
It
happened,
was just like a
but
mistake in the app.
yeah, it was just like a little glitch and I tried to appeal it and they never got back to me. So I will either film, if it's like a vlog or something like that, I'll just film on my camera or I will film in TikTok. And then I used to just be able to edit it, but
Yeah.
now I'm like filming in TikTok. And then because I be using that beauty filter. Yes, I do. I will admit it. Yes, I will. It is what it
Can
is.
I
I will
tell
always
you
tell you when
something
I'm
about the
using
beauty
it.
filter? You can add
Yeah.
it, you can add the same vibe in CapCut. Did you see that? Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, when I
I just think I
discovered
just
that, I
I
was
think it's
like,
just like a
wow.
name thing.
When I also record, I feel like the TikTok camera is kind of nicer for some reason
It's
with the
nice.
beauty
Yeah.
filter, but like it is a bit different. I don't know what it is. Maybe because it doesn't
It
like
is
change the un.
it's different. Yeah, it is different. And I think just cuz like okay, I'm filming TikToks. Of course I'm going to film in TikTok. So maybe it's just more of like a habit that I created, but I'll film in TikTok, I'll save it. I have to upload it to CapCut. I have like my own font now that I have to use cuz I lost everything on TikTok. Face to cam stuff, that's what I'll do. If it's like B-roll stuff, I'll make a folder for that day. So when I'm in studio filming my podcast and I know I'm going to get a ton of B-roll, I'll like make a folder so that when I am editing all these clips together, it's just like all in one instead of like trying to look through my camera roll. So it's just little stuff like that that make it more efficient because editing is work.
Yeah.
Editing is
Editing
takes
is
a
a
long
lot of work.
time.
Do you script your videos like when you are recording them, or you just like think of a topic and start talking about it a lot? Because I go back and forth. I had a time when I was just talking and just posted whatever, and now I see myself like if I want to actually explain something, it's easier for me to write it down and then kind of glance through my notes. So what do you do?
Yes, that's me. Yeah, that's totally me too. So we're one and the same. I will do like the hook and then like the main points or something that I know I really want to say or something I want to allude to. So I don't like type out if I'm having a really hard time because you know what those moments where like you're filming yourself and you say the same thing over and over and over again. You're like social media social strategy. Social strategy. That's me. Sometimes if I do that, I will type out, but the way that I type is the way that I want to talk. So if I was like, if I wanted to say, if the personality is not in the strategy, I don't want it, I will literally put like, I don't, capital W, capital A, capital NT. So just to like get it, like, okay, I need
Like
to
a
shake
sassy
this out.
vibe.
Exactly, yeah. And I'll like type that out if I'm having a really hard time. But usually on a good day, it's just like, okay, I have the topic, I have the hook, and then I have my main points, and I can kind of just like go off from there.
Let's talk about hooks because that's something that I see myself like, okay, the hook is not strong enough. Okay, let me try to find a few
Yes.
more hooks. And then I spend an hour trying to find hooks. And then I just come across hooks that are not hooking. So let's
Yes, the hooks aren't hooking.
let's
Yep.
talk about hooks. How do you let's define hooks first of all for maybe somebody who doesn't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah, your hook is just the first little 3 to 5 seconds of your video that's supposed to stop the scroll. That's essentially it. So you can have a visual hook, text overlay, something that you say, a sound, even your energy. Like I even say, like even confidence is a hook. Someone could make a video in their bed looking disheveled, and I will listen to them because they are coming in hot with a lot of energy. So your hook is really important because, as you know, like as you're scrolling, you know you're only going to stop if there's something that instantly catches your attention. So if you're not the type of person to like scream and yell at the camera, which sometimes that can be fun, but if that's not your vibe, you can have other hooks like a visual hook. So movement in the camera where you're holding your camera up, down, even when people like put their finger on the camera, when they're tapping on the camera, little things like that that are more like visual hooks or like what I like to say like silent hooks because you're not really talking, utilizing your text overlay. So if you have a verbal hook and you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to say, but you have something different in the text overlay, those are also ways that you can kind of quote unquote stop the scroll. I think the most powerful ones are usually those that are negative framed because We love negativity, and human beings hate to lose out. We hate to lose out more than we like to gain things. It's just a marketing tactic, loss aversion. So it's like when Amazon says like 2 hours left. Liars. It's not 2 hours. I know you got stuff
Best
over
deal
there.
ever.
Exactly. So loss aversion. So when someone says mistakes that people are making, don't do this, stop doing this. Those are actually probably some of the strongest hooks ever because that's literally speaking to our human psychology. However, depending on your brand and your vibe, sometimes it doesn't feel good to do those things. So you do have to, one, understand, am I talking to people or I'm just chasing the algorithm? Two, if I'm going to use a negative hook, how are other ways that I could do this in a way that's not going to make people feel like garbage? Some people do it really in a really funny way. There's a creator, her name is also Alyssa, but it's like Elllysa, I think. And she like yells at you, she screams at you, but she's so funny when she does it. And she's like, she has all these little like gestures and like movements. She's like crazy, but she doesn't do it in a way that's like a dog that like is talking down to me. It's like, oh, you're a comedian, you're funny. Ways that I've used them is just literally like speaking more in like my natural tone and then providing some hope and providing an actual solution if I do think that people are missing out. Like I did make a video on like so many creators are missing out on connection because they're so concerned with performing. That is like a negative hook and it uses loss aversion, but I'm not telling you that you're, dumb, stupid, and ugly because you're not following my advice. Other ways I like to use negative hooks is like doing it like a joke. So sometimes I'll be like, I can't believe people are posting on Instagram anymore. It's like so stupid. Yeah, just kidding. No, that's crazy. Or like, why would you say that? So there's little things that you can do. I would say if you're not the type of person to like have that really strong presence and, act that way, if that doesn't work for you, add humor. Humor is like TikTok is number one for what in the App Store? Entertainment. That's what people do it for. So if there's something that you can add some humor in there, that's probably, and that's the feeling like, oh, this is funny. Like she's funny. I think those are ways that you can take what is working, but like make it your own.
We have a few more minutes left and I have to dive into the connection piece because we all want to feel connected. And I see myself when I'm going through like a sad moment, I go to see my favorite creator that I know it's going to make me feel, better. How can we build that connection with our audience?
Vulnerability. And we said this in my podcast episode too. I think vulnerable content has always been valuable. But when I say like, I think content creators are shifting to really understanding the value in vulnerable content and community building. It's words that we already know, but just because it's stuff that's being said doesn't mean that people are putting it into practice. And some of my creator clients that are very seasoned, they're finally taking a chance on it. And it's not that you have to cry every day on the internet or talk about your deepest, darkest secrets and do like a whole Risa Tisa style documentary, even though love what she did. That was cool. Like Brooke Schofield,
I never
right?
watched the Risa Tisa one or the Brooke one.
Oh, really?
I was just going through like, it was too long. I couldn't, but I know like what happened.
Like, and you'll get the gist even just watching like a little bit of them, but you don't have to go full on there, especially if you're a business owner. Like, well, how does that serve your business? Just one layer down. Are you messing up? Did you mess up? Are you having a really bad day? Or is it something kind of silly, stupid, embarrassing that you can share with me? Just like one layer down, it can that's how people are connecting with one another. And a really good example, I'm currently working with a really seasoned creator in the beauty space, and she is amazing. She's great at her job. She knows how to give value, product, tip, hack, research. She's done it. But she had so much hesitancy with opening up and creating content that didn't have a valuable takeaway. So I said, why not? Like, why not just give it a chance? She finally did it. The content, no tip, no product to buy. I think she has around, I want to say 400 comments on that video and it's not just like, yes, girl, go girl. It's like, wow, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like, I'm struggling with this too. I didn't know X, Y, and Z. I didn't know this, that, and the other thing. And it was like for the first time, she actually got to see like, oh, I don't have to always give a tip to have a space on social media. And what we are working on and what we're still working on is depth and community. So, I mean, if that didn't convince you right there, I don't know what will, because she is big in the space. And it also shows like there's no like right or wrong time. The best time is right now. So for you and like your content, for you listening, take it one level deeper. one level, and it can be funny. It can be like an embarrassing, story time where I don't
Yeah,
know,
give us
you
some
walked out of the
examples just so
bathroom with toilet
people can,
paper.
yeah, so people can like envision this
Yeah, yeah,
story.
yeah.
Like,
So
yeah,
if you're,
walking
I don't
down
know,
with toilet
like, so
paper
if
is a good
you're,
example. That's a funny one.
exactly, if it's like, I don't know, if you're a fitness brand and you're creating these leggings and you're creating them from scratch and this amazing story, like, we don't always have to know like the big deep why of starting your business. Like, yes, there's room for that, but it's also could be like, I realized like my Lululemons, like camel toe galore. What is this? Like, can't be doing this. Are you kidding? It can be stuff like that. Or like, oh, like this color always makes like my armpits sweat like crazy. Or just little things like that where it's like you're not performing, you're sharing.
I love that. Question when it comes to performing, and sorry, question when it comes to sharing, not performing. When you're like being vulnerable and you're like connecting with your audience and all that, but you got to make money as well. And this is where I was coming when I was posting a lot of dating content, dating. And I was like, who can I, as an influencer, who can I partner up with? I can partner up with a dating app, with, something similar. So I started sharing other things of my life that I love, which is health and wellness, makeup, some, just things that I do in Miami. What do you think about that when you're like posting you as a personal brand, like constantly, but you don't really you can't monetize it?
Sure, yeah. And what I'll say to that is, okay, so there's two things. One, your personal brand, you can still monetize off of it. So this message of confidence, you can monetize off the message of confidence. I actually had Jenny, she was on my show and she talks more about like personal finances, but she did a campaign with Dove because they were talking about like women's empowerment. So your personal brand and your values, you can monetize off of them, or you can find brands that aligned with you so it makes sense for you to enter into a partnership with them. But it will take a lot of organic content and for you to truly believe in that for brands to see it. So that's one on like the deeper side. The other side is having content that brands can actually see themselves a part of and ethically, creating just organic branded content because you genuinely like it. But yeah, I have a fashion influencer that I'm working with right now, and we made a kind of morning skincare routine video with some products that she really likes, and it didn't perform as amazing in reach as like some of her other fashion content does, but like that wasn't the goal of that. The goal of that was to, one, show brands what she can do organically, get them on their radar, because a lot of these people that are like looking for to work with influencers, they want to know, like, do you even follow us? Does this even a good fit? Like, and they want to know just from like looking at your feed. So that's not the goal. So what I'll say about like monetization is that in your content strategy, if the only goal is to get a ton of views and get a lot of comments, this isn't going to be a career for you. There's just no way, unless you could just like rage bait your way into like brand deals, which, hey, we have seen, but I would say the majority of people, aren't ready for that. So yeah, have content in there. Do the organic branded content, one, because if you genuinely like it, why would you not share that with your audience? And two, that's a good way to like open the door to working with other brands.
And you can always create like an online product or something that you can sell on your own.
Yes.
When my
Yes.
No Coffee Walk Day blew up, I was like labeled as this high maintenance influencer, and I made a merch line out of it that said high maintenance. And I'm like, why not?
Love
I was
it.
like, just put it on my
I
forehead.
love
I'm super
that.
high maintenance. So like, duh.
Love that. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you could totally do something like that. Or I've even talked to some of my clients about like long-term partnerships for like product lines. Like I was like, how can we get you in to work with this home decor place and like have your own line? What are those
Yeah.
next steps? And that's also the first question that you said, the differences between like a seasoned creator and a beginner creator or like a successful creator, is that they see socials, even if it's their full-time job, they see socials as only a part of what they're building. It may be a really big part, but it's just a part of it. They want to have a business. They want to work with brands in a deeper way that's not just these one-off partnerships. They want to have in real life events. They want to do more. So that's also something that I would encourage everyone to think about, is like truly like, what is the big picture outside of your digital space?
Okay. Final question
Love
that
it.
I ask all of my guests is, what piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh my gosh. My younger self. Wow, this is a deep one. It's just like
Take
our
your
therapy
second. Yeah,
session.
take a second.
What would I say to my younger self? I would say enjoy the process a little bit more. Well, one, when I started my business, but even just throughout my entire even schooling, university career, I was always moving, because when you're in the acting space, you're not sleeping. That's just like not a thing that you do. And if you think comparisonitis is really bad in content creation, it can
Comparisonitis. Oh
even
my
yeah,
God. You're
it's
so
even
funny.
worse. It's even worse in the theater space because you can literally your job is to like be rejected. So you're always moving, you're performing, you're achieving, and it is enjoyable, but I would say even I kind of transfer that over into my business, which helped me a lot because I worked really hard and I had that discipline. But many times I didn't enjoy the process. I would be like, okay, I made this much money, awesome. Like, what's next? What's next? What's next? Instead of really sitting in gratitude in those blessings, celebrating it. It took me a little bit to like even say like, oh, I did a good job. I didn't ever really say that to myself until a little bit later. So that's what I would say to my younger self is enjoy the journey a little bit more, or really actually be intentional with enjoying the journey, because the journey really is the reward.
I love that. That's so beautiful. I just have to say one thing to this. I saw this the other day about also like constantly that we're always chasing and rushing and we always want the next best thing. And it's almost like whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever, it's like God is giving you right now what you asked for 5 years ago and you're not even
Yeah.
enjoying this. So he's like, why would I give you more if you're not even enjoying what you have right now? So it like
Yeah, I love
really
that.
made me think that I just need to enjoy my life. And as you said, like I'm always trying to go for the best next thing. Like we all want to grow, but it's like, why don't you,
Yeah.
you used to beg for this, so why don't you just like celebrate
Yeah.
it a little bit? So thank you for sharing. That's a
Yeah.
really beautiful tip to your younger self. And tell us where can everybody find you, your socials. I mean, I'm gonna link everything, but please go ahead.
Yes, so I am on Instagram and TikTok at Inspired Media Co. If you want to hang out over there and to see some of the stuff that we talked about come to life. But thank you so much for having me. I hope you gained something from this. And yeah, I'm just excited to hang out with everyone.
Yeah, and I was on Alyssa's podcast, so we
Yes.
did a little swap so you guys can listen to my story on her podcast. And thanks everybody for being here, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Bougie Bestie, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to subscribe to my podcast so you never miss out. I release new episodes every Friday. If you love Bougie Best Friend, please leave a 5-star rating and a review. Your support means the world and it helps the show grow. You can also follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at KOKO Beauty, and you can find Bougie Best Friend on Apple, Spotify, and all other major podcasting platforms. Love you. Bye.